is up? Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn even more money. All in one place, and it's for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup looks like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we feel like having options like video podcasts, Q&A, and polls has let us be creative on a whole other level. I highly recommend you give it a try. So download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. X's and T podcast fans, Danny here. You guys, we promised you a part 2, and guess what you're getting? A part 2. Because, let me tell you, the story gets juicier and juicier. Like, I've heard bits and pieces of this, but I'm telling you guys, right along with you, I am learning and really intrigued. So, again, anti-MLM content, you guys. Hey, shout out. But disclaimer, I am speaking, my guests are speaking personal experiences and our personal opinions based on our personal experiences. We're not here to defame anybody. If we talk about Amway, they have a product that's great for them. I'm not here to defame Amway. Also, we're going to be talking about Britt World Wide. Hey, also not here to defame Britt World Wide. We are here sharing our personal experiences and stories. Names have been changed. Anything that's said or claimed is alleged. Like, just know that ahead of time. So with all of this, don't fucking sue me. That's all I got to say. Don't sue me. So with that, you guys, I have back with us today, Ariel and Ksenija, and we are so excited to have you guys back. Thank you for coming again.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey.
You can't leave us on a cliffhanger like that. Like you can't. And oh my God, I'm so excited to just kind of get right into this because again, y'all are the Rebellious Crossline. Both of you guys had your times in BWW and eventually you guys came together. So I'm really excited because we talked in the previous episode about your guys's, the beginning steps about how you were followed to your car, Ksenija, and you, Ariel, were signed up in a back alley. So all of that is pretty crazy. And that's just the beginning. So now I have to ask, what was your guys' honeymoon phase like? You're in the business, you're growing, you are thriving, you love this. What did that time look like for you guys?
Yes. So for me, it actually lasted for about a year and a half. It was, looking back, you would think it's a honeymoon phase, but I was the most depressed I've ever been. So what happened is that, my family doesn't talk to me anymore. So my whole life became revolved around those uplines. So if they would tell me jump, I ask how high. If they tell me to do 300 PV when I don't have any money, I'll figure it out. If they want me to do 10 meet and greets, I will do it. So that was my life. And what I did, I was working in leasing at the time. And when you finish work at 6, I would go to the malls every single day and meet up with my uplines. So we would all, be walking around the mall, definitely getting my 10,000 steps a day, going to the mall, going to Target, going to Kroger, starting conversations. And the standard was to have at least 10 conversations a day and to have 1 to 2 contacts a day and meet and greets on top of that. So we did all of that and I was very happy to do so. But the thing is, when I was in the honeymoon phase, I told you earlier that my upline David was very flirtatious. So then I figured it out that he didn't even have a girlfriend because I mentioned his girlfriend because that's how he contacted me. I was like, oh, so when is your girlfriend coming? And he said, well, I actually don't have a girlfriend. So that was so did you lie? So I kind of started putting things around. It's like, that makes no sense. So he was flirting with me like the whole time. So in my brain, I'm thinking, I like this guy. He likes me. It makes sense. So in a way, I thought we were dating for a second. And then I've noticed that there's a new girl coming around and she's going, quote unquote, through the process, if you will. And he's flirting with her. And I got so offended. And then I kind of cracked it. I understood that's how he was. And funny enough, his first 5 legs were women. All of them were women. that's his tactic. And to be honest, looking back, I'm like, he's not that good looking at all. But the way he would like present himself was, he was a light skinned guy. He would play basketball, you know, he was 6-something foot, you know, and he had a lot of confidence around him. So that was his tactic. So that was my honeymoon phase. Because I still kind of liked him, quote unquote, I would follow him around like a little puppy. It's kind of pathetic. And at one point, Michael told David and Nick, he told them, oh, Ksenija, she's going to be your first platinum. Don't mess it up. And they told me that. So that put a lot of pressure on me. I'm thinking they're counting on me. You know, I have to do whatever I have to do to be that first platinum. So I would work from 8 to 6, I work. And then I would be doing Amway things, quote unquote, from 6 to 11 every single day. So, and sometimes we'd go to Michael's house and hang out there until 2 a.m. Just to debriefing and everything. And
don't wake up at 6.
And then you have to wake up at 6 or 7 to go to work. So that was my life for 1.5 years. But I had such cloud over my eyes, or whatever you want to call it, that I didn't even see anything wrong with it, because I just needed some kind of a community to be a part of. Because at that point in my life, I don't talk to my family and I don't go to church anymore. I just needed something to be a part of, if that makes sense. So that was my honeymoon phase. And at the same time, so there was one leader, he was about 2,500. He was very charismatic and he was flirting with me the whole time. So by the time I let go of my upline thinking we're dating, because I caught him to what he's doing, I actually started dating another Crossline before I started dating Ariel. And the way it worked out is that he was so flirtatious with me. And then he started messaging me outside of the, you know, in my own group chat. We use GroupMe and you can create, you know, your own chat. So he messaged me and then we started dating, quote unquote. But then at the end of it, I found out that he dated probably 5 or 6 different women, and 3 of them at the same time as me. And they're all in the team.
Way.
All Crossline.
All Crosslines too.
So did you guys have cardinal rules that prevented you guys from crosslining?
Yes.
He probably did this guy
probably did a training on it, to be honest. But you know what's funny? Yes, he did. He did several times, and he was dating all these women in the team. Anyone who was remotely good looking in the team probably has been in his bed. Like, it's that disgusting. But you know what's funny, Danny? You know what's really funny? So the whole situation about the crossline, those are the rules. That's what is getting preached on stage. But Michael was dating his crossline Sam. Michael is a Q12 platinum. He was dating his crossline Sam, and they eventually got engaged. Then Michael's brother Nick was dating this girl Tanya, and they're all in the same family too. So you'll hear Mike, Harry, and Nick. Those are 3 brothers that were running the organization in Atlanta, and 2 out of 3 are dating Crosslines. And while everybody knows it in the team, the hypocrisy, and while they're preaching that on stage, they're dating their Crosslines, and somehow it's okay for them to do it and not us. And they eventually got engaged and married, 2 of them, 2 out of 3. The third one married his downline. But imagine the hypocrisy, and everybody knows it. And of course, when you see that and they're leaders, so in my mind, I was thinking, I'm dating this guy. So if we're serious and become leaders, then I'm sure it's going to be okay. But me dating that leader kind of kept me in as long as it did, because I was so afraid that, yes, I did the wrong thing and I quit. How bad would that look? And that was all before Ariel. And then I found out, that that guy was dating other women. And the caveat here too, Tanya, Nick's girlfriend at the time, knew that he was dating me and he was dating other women. She knew the whole time. And then I can give you more story about it later of how it all fell apart. But she knew, and she's part of the family who's running the show. So
Wow.
it's a mess.
But you're not wrong though. So there is cross-lining that happens. And I remember, so again, my sponsorship is weird, right? So my uplines, John and Barbara, were sponsored by their son. I don't have a name for him, but they also have a daughter who they had sponsored, but their daughter would end up marrying a crossline and dropping her business and going to this other organization who was still under the club owner, but she married this dude. And they always said, oh, well, if you're, they would put it this way, which is such bullshit, but they'd be like, oh, just make sure you counsel upline. Like, we all need to be in a meeting together. We all need to coach together to make sure we get permission to do this. And looking back, I think that's so fucking stupid because we are grown ass adults and this is not a job.
Yeah.
How many times are we told we're independent business owners? This is us taking control of our lives, right? And then they say, oh, but don't crossline because crosslining has ruined whole organizations, which, okay, whatever, that's not my problem. And for you to have to go out, like for me, just thinking about people having to go ask for permission to date somebody is pretty stupid. Like, it's not your boss, it's not your job.
Exactly. And then think about it this way. What do you expect? You have 100 people in one room who have isolated their friends, isolated their family, are living basically in their upline's houses, like up their upline's asses the whole time. We're all together. We're all good looking. We're all young. What do you expect to happen?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
That was a really
that's
good
kind of
point.
silly. Like, if you're isolating all these people and they're all depressed and exhausted and sleep deprived, how do you expect them not to hook up? As sad as it is, like, they have to have their needs met somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, then
and you get
also,
attached to these people.
yeah, but you also have this in common. Like, you're always taught, well, you want to be with somebody who's a business builder. And it's like, well, that person's already building the business. I know them to be successful and wanting to do this. Like, wouldn't it make sense? And then I've heard a theory. This is, of course, alleged, can't prove it, but I've heard that they put people together because you guys want to hear something crazy. So my upline, this one dude who was in my upline was not my quote active growing upline, but he sponsored my upline, Craig, and his wife, Jenny. I found out recently because I'm a nosy bitch. I like to find shit out. I looked him up on Facebook. He's married to one of our crossline, and this guy was never around. This guy was never around. He came and he went and he came and he went. And I looked him up and I was like, no shit. He's married to this girl who is still down line of the club owner. In fact, I think that she's in their personal width. Like, it is insane. And so again, there's me thinking, and again, people alleging that they'll put people together to keep people in the business, but also encourage marriage because that's more PV for them and you're more likely to stay.
Right. Exactly. I was trying to be set up as well. I can get into it later. Yeah. So I am originally from Latvia. And there was this guy who my mom met, actually. My mom used to work at the gym and she was a trainer and he was at that gym. And she was like, oh, you're from Latvia. My adopted daughter is from Latvia. You guys should meet. So I meet with him for coffee because, he just moved to the country. I'm being very empathetic. I understand it's very hard. So we become good friends, actually. And then I told him about the business, obviously. And he actually ended up getting started. And what happened was he didn't speak English, so I would translate all of the audios for him, as well as all of the meetings. I would translate for him. And my uplines told him that we should be together. And then they were hinting at that at me as well. And then at one point, that downline of mine told me that he would marry me one day. And my uplines were like pushing that too. They're like, yeah, you should get together with him. You guys have similar background. It makes sense. And we can go back to that side. While I told them already, by the time I told them I really like Ariel and I really want to be with him, they pushed the other guy on me like nobody's business. And it was a disaster. Like, it was so awkward. And yeah, it was terrible.
Wow. I'm speechless. And again, this is like this isn't even a fraction of your guys' story. Ariel, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your honeymoon phase.
Yeah. I mean, it was for I would say a couple years, and I would say, I did learn a lot from the system, if you will. I felt like I did. I was so motivated and excited. And, every time you get like different successes, let's say you sponsor somebody, you get hyped up, right? Or they sponsor somebody, or you go to a certain pin level, you keep getting that boost of serotonin and it keeps you going. So I would say my honeymoon phase lasted about 2 years. And in those 2 years, I had a lot of self-image building to do. I had a lot to grow. I was very just emotional. I'm still emotional, but I was very emotional back in the day. I was very nervous all the time, high anxiety. Didn't think, I really didn't like people. So I would go to the malls just to grow and say hello to somebody, and that would be an achievement for me. So it took a while of that. So my honeymoon phase really lasted 2 years, and I would say it started to dwindle when I didn't get the results I wanted because I did everything I could. It's just I wasn't there mentally. I had people on my team that did get results, and it became an ego battle, unfortunately for me, because I would get butthurt because now somebody else is getting all the praise and all the attention, but it was my team, right? So I still felt good, but I wanted that gave me the FOMO to also do more and to be that leader. Horrible. That was horrible, and I hated that ego clash. And now that same guy, my best friend, and he's also out of the business, and I hope they do a podcast as well.
Shout out.
So, I made it ultimately in the first 3 years. I think I made it to like 4,000 PV. I had a team of 40 at one point. I
Wow.
didn't really have more than 3 legs. I was really good at building depth because that's what my uplines taught me, and that's what we preached. And building depth is obviously instead of sponsoring personally, you're sponsoring for other people in your team and helping them learn. So I loved that role. I loved helping people. I am very giving, I would say, and I would give everything I got to those people. And in the beginning, just to kind of go back, my upline, he would say that he did a lot for me, and which he did. I'll admit, in the beginning, I didn't have a car, so he'd pick me up, right? In the beginning, I was broke, so he'd buy me like a little bit of food, like a little pancake at IHOP or something, if we're out with the team, because I didn't have that money. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not hungry, right? So he did some stuff for me, but that made me feel like there was a price tag that I had to kiss his ass even more because I felt like I had to owe them. Because here
Yeah.
they are, giving me so much of their time. That's only for indoctrination purposes, and they'll use their positive frame of mind that they learned from books to make sure that I felt good about myself. And I would say actually, which is George's story, in the first 3 months that I was in business, I didn't contribute much in the house because I was gone all the time. And my mom and my sister hated that I was in Amway. And one time we were living at my sister's house at this point, my mom and I. And my sister and I got into a yelling match, and she was screaming her head off at me because I was doing Amway and I was spending money going to functions that I didn't have. I actually had to ask my sister for the function money because I didn't have money at that point. And she did. And then I spent all my money on products and all my money here and on my time there. And they're like, you need to quit. You need to get Amway. You need to get rid of Amway and, focus on whatever you got to focus on. And I said no, and I burst into tears. And my sister like kicked me out for the night. Well, she kicked me out. She said, get the fuck out of my house. I'm like, okay. So I sat at a 24-hour Starbucks that we had over here. I sat at that couch, and then at like 3 a.m., I realized, all right, I'm just going back home. Fuck it. I'm not gonna be homeless over this shit. And then my sister said ultimately that she's proud of who I become. I become more positive, become more polished and whatever. And that really did help me stay longer because I got that thumbs up from my mom and my sister. So ultimately,
Yeah.
my honeymoon phase lasted a couple years, I would say. And like I said in the previous episode, I felt like the whole time there was something wrong about what I was doing, but I felt like the devil was trying to get me stinking thinking. And I
That's what
said,
they
no.
say.
Yeah. So I said, no. And I kept
They
going. And
do.
yeah.
They really do preach that fucking message. It's so crazy. Like, and they do, they're like, oh, it's just the devil trying to stop you because they don't want you to be successful. And it's like, maybe my intuition is right here, but you're so like, they teach you, don't think for yourself. We are here to think for you. Borrow our brains. Like, we are the ones who are going to teach you how to quote be successful, which
Exactly.
then it kind of starts to lead you to not want to trust yourself too.
Right.
And it's hard. So no, I really feel you on that one. And even though there is that, like, this doesn't feel right, I hate this, like, it's not natural to want to go out and prospect someone if you're not a fucking narcissist. Like,
Right.
if you're not a shit person, you have something in you that makes it challenging, because deep down, and I always felt this too, I would have such a hard time pitching this to people, even though I deep down believed, or at least I thought I believed, I was like, no, this is the greatest thing. They need this. I'm here to save them or whatever, which is BS because they don't need saving. But it still was hard for me. And they always tried to make it sound like, oh, well, you just need to get better at talking to people. And I'm like, I
Right.
love talking to people. I'm a fucking extrovert. I talk to everybody. I make people who are introverts uncomfortable because I'll still start up
Yeah.
conversations and talk to everybody. But I totally see where you're coming from. And then again, even though you had this argument, but then you're still getting that validation of like, no, we do see a change in you from who you were. And I think those positive changes are okay to have. Because I mean, I still have a couple of things that I took away from them that are a little bit more positive. So when did red flags start to come up? What were some things that you guys kind of started to see and you're like, oh, okay, like this is not what I signed up for?
Yeah, for me, it started on about 6 months in, and I was already dating that ex of mine. But obviously, I felt so pressured to stay because not only I'm with him, but then they said that I'm going to be their first platinum. So I have so much pressure on me. But what happened was I sponsored this girl. She wasn't really financially well. She was fresh out of school. She was doing DoorDash. She's between jobs and she doesn't have money, honestly, to spend. And she went to a function with us. And when she came back, she actually got a job, like an office receptionist job, something in that manner. And she was driving to work. And because she was so tired, she crashed her car. She crashed on the way to work because of sleep deprivation with function. And she messaged us saying, hey, I need to quit. This is not good for me. I just crashed my car. I don't have anything left. I spent all of my money on the products and the function. And I texted Mike. I said, hey, so she crashed her car. She doesn't have any money. She wants to quit. Can we send her money back? Because Amway has a 6 months guarantee that if you decide to not to do this, you can get your money back. And my upline said, absolutely not. My heart literally fell to my stomach. And
Yeah.
I am thinking, wow, we just screwed up this girl's life. Not only she doesn't have a car anymore, she can't even get back $185. They can literally, if you play it right, you can feed yourself with that for a month, with the right budgeting and that just broke me. And then at certain points, the control has become so heavy. For example, my uplines were really closely watching me because I'm a very charismatic person, or back then I was even more so than I am now. And I would talk to everybody. And my upline would come by and be like, what'd you guys talk about? Or he would ask to look at my phone sometimes if I'm texting, like, hey, who are you texting? Because they probably had suspicions about me dating my ex. But then at one point, there's another girl in my team, because I was recruiting students, to be very transparent with you, because that's where I was in my life. And there's another girl who had $70 in her bank account. And she just told me and David, my upline, she was counseling with us saying that she doesn't have money to pay rent this month. She needs to come up with $750. And she had like $75 or something like that. And my upline convinced her to buy products. And that's where everything started falling. Like, it didn't make sense. And then obviously another red flag is that all of my uplines are dating Crosslines pretty much. So Michael and Nick are both openly dating Crosslines. And the fact that I'm being shamed for it on stage, because I wasn't very open about my first relationship. I was very secretive. And I am like feeling like a piece of crap for doing the wrong thing, but they are doing it. So I saw a lot of hypocrisy there. As well as that leader that I was dating, quote unquote, he wasn't a leader. He just was 2,500. Like, seriously, not a big deal, to be honest. But then I saw how he was treating me too. For example, he would ignore me when we were quote unquote girlfriend and boyfriend and flirt with everybody. So that environment was so bad for me. And the only time I would see him is for a booty call, pretty much. And then the moment I wanted to either quit or break up with him, he would just love bomb me and get me back. And I was a very vulnerable place. So I would just always go back. So seeing all of that, as well as me being literally emotionally abused in my relationship, things just starting to add up. And then at one point I had a meet and greet, and I went on Reddit to see, like, put on like, this is a 21st century book. And I saw the Reddit stuff and I was still like very heavily in. And I got so scared. I felt like such a bad person for even researching any of that. But there's a lot of different control. Another thing that was a huge red flag, they're so invested in your life. So, for example, if they text you, you are required to respond within 30 minutes. If you're not, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yes.
30 minutes is what you have to respond, even though you have like an actual fucking life?
Yep, you have to respond. But then the hypocrisy there is that when you text them, it might take them 3 days to get back to you because they're so quote unquote busy.
Right. If they ever get back to you.
Yeah. And then another thing, my upline, Nick, he was the lazy piece of crap. He was so lazy. He didn't do anything but, bought products, and he would tell me what to do. I remember him and I got into it. He was like, you have to do this. You have to go out and talk to people. I'm like, well, how many contacts did you bring in this month, Mr. Nick? How many meet and greets did you have? And he's like, it doesn't matter. Don't you ever de-edify your upline. I'm like, well, there's so much hypocrisy in what you're saying. You're yelling at me for not doing, 10 meet and greets this month, and you haven't done it even one. So that was a big red flag. Yeah, there's so much. And then at one point, the same upline, Nick. So with me, I have a little bit of a complicated personal story, and that's for another time. But I've had a lot of walls up. I'm very charismatic and open to talk to people. But when it comes to building actual relationships, it does take me a moment because I don't let everybody in. And they would tell me I have too much of a RBF. I am too mean. And then I would switch up and be completely opposite. And then it'd be like, no, Ksenija, you're too friendly. You need to pipe it down. I was so confused. And then at one point, my upline, Nick, sat me down and he said, Ksenija, you have to tell me your full life story with all of the details. And I've experienced a lot of trauma, Danny. So you have to give me the full story, and so that you can start growing. And my dumbass, not knowing any different, opened up about my abuse in childhood, opened up about the trauma I went through, opened up about everything, crying like snot and tears, like ugly crying in a coffee shop, opening my heart out to him. And then, oh my gosh, it makes me so angry. So I told him all of this stuff, and then he's like, well, you need a therapist. And then I couldn't afford one, first of all. And second of all,
of course,
he told my story to the other upline, Mike, who's a Q12 Platinum. And Danny, one time, Mike told me, he's like, Ksenija, you're an adult now. It's time to get over it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep. At one point, he said that to me. And then I was crushed. I'm like, first of all, mister, you have never experienced anything that I have. You have no childhood trauma. You brought up very privileged. The only reason you have a job is because you work for your dad. Like, you would never be able to hold a regular job. You have no place to say that to me. And he said that many times to me. And another thing that they would do, they would control how I dress because, I'm a little bit more of a curvy woman. And they would always pull me aside like, this isn't appropriate. And when you look at me, when I dressed back then, I was actually very appropriately dressed. I can't help that I have big chest, and they would be like, you're so distracting. You're not like, you shouldn't be wearing this. And then at one point I had to send pictures of my outfits pretty much every day to my upline, Sam, who was a Crossline originally to Mike, and they got engaged and she became my upline. I would have to send her my outfits, you know?
Wow.
So there was so
That's
much control.
so crazy.
And at one point I told them that I drink wine on Sundays to unwind, and they labeled me as an alcoholic. So I was the party girl who dresses inappropriately, who's flirtatious with her Crossline, and she's an alcoholic, but she's gonna go platinum. She's gonna be the first platinum. And they pushed me, like, they were only very nice to me when they needed something when it comes to the PV, because they knew I was gonna get it done, you know?
Yeah.
So every time anything else, they would be disgustingly rude and very controlling. So that's how I started seeing that. And there's so many things that I had so many regrets. For example, I missed my uncle's funeral because I had to go to a function. My uncle was battling stage 4 cancer, throat cancer, and he died. And thank God I've traveled to Dallas to see him before that happened. And after I left on Sunday, he passed away on Tuesday. And then his funeral was scheduled when the function was at, and I didn't go. I thought about it the whole time, and I got praised for it on stage. So that's one of the biggest regrets I'll ever have, is not going there and not saying goodbye, because I think about it very, like, a lot. And him and I were very, very close. Like, the amount of control that they had became eventually crumble into my mind, and, you know, and then COVID hit. So that's where it all kind of started.
Wow. And I think what people should understand is we didn't know any of this stuff about our upline. Like, we were not allowed to ask. They would tell us to live in a glass house, but they were not living in a glass house with us. We weren't allowed to know their life story, but they needed to know every single aspect of ours. And for them to be so invasive with you, to push you to talk about trauma, like, when you talk about trauma, it's hard enough. That's like, you could re-traumatize somebody by asking them to go in depth, and then re-traumatize them again by telling them, you're an adult, you have to get up. Like, excuse me? That is the most just horrendous thing that I have heard. And I am so sorry that you experienced that. You are totally valid in all of your anger that you have for these people, because that small situation to me is huge. And it speaks volumes to the type of people that these people are. So no, and thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's, it's very brave of you to be able to even just say what you did. And I'm grateful. And I know that other people are also going to be super grateful, because that's a lot. That's so much. And
you know what's interesting? Another part is that you probably want to put a trigger warning on this one, because I've battled so much, so much depression that I've communicated that I wanted to end my life many times with them. And Sam, she's so stupid, dude. She's a stupid person. Like, she told me, because I told my uplines that I'm struggling with depression, and I'm really, because not only I'm in an abusive relationship, not only I'm sleep deprived, I'm in the cult. So add all of this up, and my grandma passed away. Like, at that time, I told my upline that I wanted to finish everything. And the upline, Sam, told me when we were one-on-one, she's like, yeah, I heard that you get a little sad in your brain sometimes. Yeah, just get those thoughts out of your head. Can you believe this crap?
No,
like,
that's fucking, like,
stupid.
You're right, stupid.
She's stupid.
Very stupid.
She's like, I've never met the stupider person in my entire life. Like, so dumb. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me get this out of my brain. Yeah, how about you suggest me quit the cold and, like, heal? No, they're gonna still milk me for money and for PV, because I was bringing it up. At one point, I had 700 PV personal because my upline was trying to go platinum. And they just milked the crap out of me, like, took everything I've had and more, because I'm in debt. So, yeah, picture of what kind of people we're dealing with.
You're not wrong. They really do that. Like, your money is what they focus on. It makes me sad, because the thing that could have been said, like you said, was, hey, get out of here. Like, you need to, like, this is causing you a lot of stress. Like, how you're feeling is, like, one, valid. It's okay to feel like depressed, but to say you feel sad sometimes, okay, you're right. So fucking stupid. But not just that,
I
these
hope
people
she
aren't
hears this so
professionals.
much. God, I hope she hears it and listens to it.
Yeah, because it's like you're not a professional. You could hurt somebody by doing that. Like, send them to a professional. If anything, she could have given you the hotline. Hey, I think you should call this hotline. I hope they have resources that are available for you. I'm here to listen. But if anything, like, go get some professional help. But that's not what happened. And that's so fucking true. I mean, my upline pushed me back into my DV relationship. I don't like, if I was expressing to them what was going on, again, they should have said, okay, here's the DV hotline. We are not experts in this. I cannot speak to you about this at all. Like, I don't want to give you the wrong information. Please go call this hotline and maybe find some help. No, they didn't do that. And what they did to you is wrong. Like 1025% fucking wrong. Like, I'm angry for you. And I see now why for you spreading your story and spreading the message is so important. And I'm sure that's not even all of it. Like, again,
there's even more. They've done even so much more, and that's towards the end. And it's insane. They're just terrible, terrible people, and I hope bad things happen in their organization. I cannot wait till that House of Cards falls apart and they just forced to work whatever jobs they choose to work and just swallow their ego and learn that lesson, because it's really sad.
Wow. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. Ariel, what about you? What were some things that you started to notice that you're like, okay, this is not okay with me?
I'll be very transparent. Everything that I saw that was either a red flag or maybe negative, I chose to brush it off. I dealt with it internally and just it ate me alive, over time. But I brushed it off, and I didn't really think about the red flag until after I left the organization in the end of 2020, December 2020. So I mean, first of all, I used to go contacting, but what I would do is after work, I would sit in my car in the parking lot for like a couple hours, maybe, I don't know, just listening to an audio or decompressing or whatever, because I was so scared to talk to people. But I thought it was my own self-image that I needed to grow, which it was. But I chose to not think about that. I had people on my team that were broker than I, or as broke as me, and they were doing whatever it took. I was greedy in that way as well, and I thought we were helping them. We thought we were sacrificing the now for a better future, and I was doing the same thing. So I was in that pool of muddled, what's the word? Toxic positivity. That muddled, aspirations of going diamond. I would go to the functions and cry my eyes out because I'm so emotional and I'm going to be on that stage. However, that Monday when I get home, my motivation's gone because I'm like, fuck, I gotta now talk to people, but I'm excited. And, you get your first few rejections that demotivates you, but you learn to overcome it. Right. So I'm now looking at the red flags. I'm like, yeah, that's actually fucked up. That's actually that's the definition of a cult. We're looking at cult documentaries on streaming platforms and fucking, I'm like, wow, that's exactly what BWW was. That is insane. Yep. I'm learning about freaking, I don't know, that crazy cult, wasn't it? Manson cult, all these crazy
Scientology.
Yeah.
All these cults. I'm like, dude, they're so similar. So now I'm looking at the red flags and I'm like, yeah, okay, that was fucked up. And the reason I got out is because Ksenija got out a year before me, but I was still in it. It was throughout COVID. And the Ksenija started learning more about cults and Amway and the deep, dark secrets that it has. And, she educated me, but I still said, okay, that's that information, but I'm going to still keep going. And then my uplines, how they handled us wanting to get together, they were like destroyed. Mm-hmm. They were so, oh my God, this is the worst thing that we could have ever done to them is lie. I'm like, dude, if we didn't lie, then you would have made our life hell. And we eventually did. Before we got together, we said, hey, look, we like each other. And they're like, all right, you got to go platinum before you can You got to earn it. You got to
And
earn the
mind you,
relationship.
we were both separately, before we got together, separately cried to our uplines because my relationship with my ex was super abusive, and after 2 years we got out of it. But I knew I've always liked Ariel. I always something about him that I just absolutely adored. Like, Ariel would be the first guy to get there and set up the chairs and serve everyone. Like, he would be that kind of guy who would give his last shirt to a stranger. And I've seen the heart that he had, and I've always had a thing for him, but I knew that it wasn't the time. And he was, he just went 4,000, and that was such a big deal, and but after my ex and I broke up, I was crying my eyes out to my upline, saying how much I really want to get to know him, like Ariel, because I've been looking at him for a couple of years now. I've always had him in my background, if you will. But I was so afraid to mess it up because Ariel was so devoted to Amway, so devoted.
Oh,
And I was
nice.
scared to like rock the boat. I was like, no, I'm not gonna even make a move or whatever. But I've always liked him. I've always had a thing for him. And we begged for so long, at least a solid year before him and I started dating. Every one-on-one we had with our uplines was like, hey, so what can we do? How can we start getting together? And then him and Ariel and I would see each other at the qualifiers, and then would like sneak a conversation in. We actually, one time we hugged at the function, and we felt so bad. It's like sneaking just to give a hug to each other and like, look at each other. We just both were like super into each other. And then at our upline's wedding, actually, so Michael and Sam got married in their Crosslines, and Ariel and I both were invited to the wedding, and Ariel actually was one of the groomsmen. And Ariel and I danced the night away together. Like, we were inseparable. And that's where it became a big problem. All the uplines are talking about it. Like, we're so scandalous. But that's when we're like, this is it. We're going to get together. And 5 months after that wedding, we started dating.
Yeah. And to kind of continue to answer your question, I did remember red flags, and when I started to like be weirded out, I'm like, because the whole organization, they were 19 to 23, 18 to 24. And I'm looking around, I'm like, why are kids leading kids? These guys don't know anything. I don't know anything. And you expect me to mentor this person who's like 5 years older than me? They have way more money than me. Now I'm going to coach them and teach them. Okay, let me do it. At least I can teach them the business because I know how to show a plan really well. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just grow my self-image more so that I can lead people, right? And my uplines were like 3 years older than me, not that much more older. And we're expected as kids to like lead grown-ass adults and lead other kids where we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We don't know who we are. You don't develop really who you are till you're 25, they said. They say
that's
like
such a good point.
Like your brain fully develops at 25, and I'm 19, talking to this 45-year-old. So that's when I was like, this is a little weird, but I'm going to push through. You know why? Because they're going to see. I'm going to go diamond.
Yeah.
What's up, world?
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
That's a little bit of a reference. So go on.
That's so, yeah. I love that you brought that up because, God, it's so obnoxious how true that is. Like, the dynamic that we had in our upline was, you're right. Like, I mean, everyone in my upline was older than me, but I recruited. I mean, I'm going to use the right word here. I recruited somebody who was significantly older than me. And this woman had so much just wisdom, and I wish I would have listened to her, not her listen to me. And my upline was taking fucking counsel from their son, because their son is supposedly taking counsel from the Syrian guy in our organization. Anybody who was in Worldwide knows exactly who the fuck I'm talking about, because he's downline from the fucking club owner. And they're supposed to say, and then all of it supposedly comes from the crown guy, right? The big guy at the top of this organization. That's really where all of it's coming from. And it's like, why the fuck is that okay? Like, I didn't want to take advice from somebody who was younger than me. They don't know what the fuck. Like, sure, do I think that there are people who are younger than me who have wisdom in areas that I don't know?
Absolutely.
1000%. Yeah. But as far as life as a whole, like I don't feel like I should be counseling a 60-year-old woman. There's no way. This woman
No.
had lived 3 lifetimes before me and she was just amazing. Like, no, it's like, I see where, yeah, no,
Yeah,
totally good
yeah.
point. That makes me
We
really like, yeah.
Yeah, we do budget meetings with fucking engineers, and I'm like, oh, I work at Panera Bread, and we're doing a budget meeting with like a guy who has a 6-bedroom house with a couple with 3 kids, and then we're telling, hey, couple with 3 kids, sacrifice yourself now because your kids are not gonna remember these days. They're gonna remember,
Ah,
their yacht trips later on, and the
yep.
house they live in. And I've always aspired to be a father, and I'm excited to be a father one day. And I've always aspired to be a husband, and that was gonna be the greatest joy of my life, and it is. And but we're telling like I'm a single guy counseling a couple, because I read The Magic of Thinking Big, or I read freaking I don't know whatever fucking book, and I'm trying to tell them all my wisdom.
Yeah.
It's like they've been together for 10 years. They have 3 kids, 2 mortgages, cars are paid off, and I have less than $100 in my bank account. Let me tell you
Have to do a budget.
how to do a budget.
Yeah, no, I think all of that is such a good point. It really is. And yeah, so I kind of want to go into some of the things that you guys have mentioned that you guys want to talk about. There have been some pretty crazy things that, have happened to you guys in this organization. So I'm just going to give you both this time to kind of go into some of those things that you feel like, hey, this is something I need to share.
The amount of control that they have over your life, it's like, and the amount of indoctrination that they actually encourage. For example, some of the things they were encouraging us is to fall asleep to an audio. So I would fall asleep to an audio. I would wake up and I recorded a self-talk. I would wake up tired and exhausted, angry about everything. I would wake up and play my self-talk and like, I'm a diamond. Like the amount of weird things we've done, as well as, for example, since we have daily quota, if you don't get your contact, they encouraged us to sleep on the floor. Did that happen to you as well?
Oh my God. Yep. They would praise the shit out of people. Like Kate's would come down and they'd be like, yeah, such and such couple, they got rid of their mattress and they're not getting it back until they go X pin level. Are you or somebody slept in their car even until they got a contact and then they could go inside. Like
It's
it was
insane.
that fucking dramatic.
Some of the things that they were encouraging us is that if you don't have your contact and it's 2 a.m., go to a quick trip, drop your message,
Yeah.
go to gas stations, go to
Walmart at 2 a.m. and contact the lowest
like associate over there, or somebody who's
tired associate,
or like homeless guy.
Yeah,
like
whatever.
do whatever you have to do to drop your message and get the contact, as well as think about how dangerous that is. If someone like as young as I was, a woman walking around at 2 a.m. looking for a contact, like how disgustingly terrible that is,
Yep.
As well as, I don't know, like we would stay at their house until 2, 3 a.m. talking about the same thing over and over again, where people are literally, their eyes are like glossing over. It's the amount of control that they have over your life. It's insane. They're going to know who you've slept with, how many times. They're going to know what you eat for breakfast, for lunch, where your money is allocated to. And then one time, actually, Danny, my car broke down on the highway, fully broke down. And my brother is a car salesman, so I needed a car ASAP. Obviously, I'm going to work, I'm doing my meetings. I need a car ASAP. And my butt had the nerve of get a car for my brother, who's a car salesman, with a discount without counseling them. And I called my upline, Mike. It's like, hey, I bought a car because my car literally broke down. It doesn't move. And I traded it in to get a new car. He's like, why didn't you counsel with me? Why didn't you counsel me to get a new car? How about, hey, are you okay? Was it dangerous? Were you fine? Like, are you fine? Like, you like literally could have died on the highway. It's like, no, how dare you? You didn't ask us. As well as when it comes to dating, since my ex-boyfriend and I at the time were so terrible, like as a couple, I would always go on dates with other guys too. Like, and I didn't know that he was cheating on me or whatever, but we would take so many breaks between our relationship. So I would go out and date people, and the amount of scolding I've gotten for going out on a date. And my upline, Henry, actually, he suggested, he's like, if I was a woman, I would go on Bumble and make all of my dates meet and greets. He said that. He said, yeah, so you create this kind of like Mormon mentality, or like Amway bachelorette situation. And all of the dates I went to, guess what? I'm going to talk about my mentors. I'm going to talk about what a great life that they have and that I'm learning so much from them. And then at one point, the same Sam, that stupid upline that I had, like, I'm literally thinking there's something wrong. She actually, one time, because I was dating that guy, another guy who became my downline eventually. And I told him, like, once we started dating, by the way, before that, I asked my upline not to sponsor him because I dated him in the past. Then I decided to put him in the process, and we broke up right before we started. He was trying to get with me so much during him being an Amway. And I said, listen, I don't want to do anything until I'm a platinum. So that's my way of like brushing him off. Obviously, I'm dating already. Like, and I'm like, I'm trying to, but hey, whenever you're a platinum, you can come talk to me and we can do that. So he actually goes to Mike and Sam, cries his eyes out of how much he loves me, which he was a terrible boyfriend. Like, while we were dating, I gave him a watch for his birthday and he threw it back at me. Like, and he was very like, I was just in one bad relationship after another. I don't know. I guess because I was hurt, was just seeking any validation. I would date anybody who would date me, I guess. So, but I was begging my uplines not to sponsor him, and they sponsored him anyways. So he comes back, cries to the uplines, to Mike and Sam, that he loves me, and that he said, Ksenija told me that when I'm a platinum, we can be together. Then they go to me, and Sam tells me, oh, wow, you're like so open to everybody. Since we're here in a hotel, if a guy comes up to you and asks you to go up to his room, are you gonna go? She literally said that to me. I'm sorry,
what?
Yeah. Well, so not only...
What business is it of hers, even if you did? like, why shame somebody? Who fucking cares? It's your life. So
it's insane. So think about it, Danny. I am a whore alcoholic.
19-year-old.
19-year-old. By then, I'm like already 21, 22. But rebellious, and I buy a car without their permission, and I'm very sad in my head. Like, what a case that they had to deal with. Poor uplines. Like, it's insane. Like, but hey, I'm the first one to go to when you need an EPV.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is fantastic.
Which is absurd. Well, I mean, universe forbid you're able to just be fucking 19 through 21. Who the fuck wasn't like that at 19 to 21 unless they were in a religious cult, like, or in a religious family or whatever, or if they didn't want to, but like, it's still your choice. Like, they really and they really only shame women. I mean, I didn't see very many men getting shamed for dating.
No.
And the fact, too, that they told you to use their dating as prospecting. Actually, Cassie and I talked about this in our episode a couple episodes ago, was to be careful out there, people. If you're dating, be careful, because these people are very obviously using these apps to find ways to prospect people as well.
Yeah.
I am not surprised. And it's insane, the things and the lengths that they will go to. And when you guys were in, because I kind of wanted to ask a little bit more about this, because Britt World Wide was, like we talked about, behind World Wide. And eventually you guys developed the process. Yeah. Do you ever feel like once the process was developed, everything kind of changed? Like, did it get worse when you guys started the process?
It definitely did. And just to give you a backstory, it's obviously alleged. I have to say it for legal reasons, but I know the person who did that. So some of your diamonds came out with the process audios, all about the process, how to do it, where to do it. And we would listen to them like 24/7. But BWW didn't have any access to those audios. So my ex actually allegedly broke into the Worldwide Dream Builder system and stole all of your audios, including the club owners' audios, including the loud guys' audios, who's son of the other diamonds. They literally stole audios from you guys and distributed across our organization.
We were salivating. We were.
I bet.
my God, we're like, oh my God, this is golden.
Really? So
Yeah.
when you guys were in, what was your guys's I guess interpretation of Worldwide? Like, and you guys even told me that I didn't know this. I don't know that many people in Worldwide know this, but our diamonds were coming to speak at your functions, weren't they? And what was your
Yeah.
guys's like interpretation of Worldwide? How was Worldwide being like expressed to you guys?
We thought you guys were awesome. I mean, our team specifically, we're like, man, Worldwide. Because I used to listen to all the old audios too of I don't know if I can say the name.
You cannot.
The crown of Worldwide.
The one who
Oh, the crown.
says
Okay, got it,
the
got it.
The
cut
crown.
it or cut it off.
Like, so I would listen
The
to
fucking
him.
big crown guy. Fuck
Yeah.
him.
Big
Sorry.
crown guy. And then
The one with the beard and
oh yeah, and then the brother crowns, and
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. The
Uh,
beards down to here, and they were crying on their living room
exactly.
floor because I found the best thing. You guys know
Yeah.
the story too.
yes, we of
Stop.
course
Oh,
we know.
we
We
know.
love that
We
guy.
loved everybody in Worldwide. We thought you guys were geniuses. You guys were like
Oh,
ultimate, and we were trying to catch up.
Did you know that one of the brothers went bankrupt? He filed for bankruptcy.
When like 3 years ago,
no
right?
Yeah,
way.
the older
How?
brother. Yeah.
No way. I just
Yeah,
talked to one of
there's
his downline a few months ago.
There's documents about it online, and I remember when I was trying to get Ariel out of Amway, I was like, how come this crown is, there's legal documents online of him declaring bankruptcy? How is that okay?
So our interpretation of Worldwide was great in our organization. Now, the upline diamonds didn't agree. There was a lot of backlash. There was a lot of diamonds within a BWW where they were anti-process because they didn't want to fix what wasn't broken, because the plan worked for so many years, right? And they're experts at showing the plan. So it took a long time for all of BWW to essentially get into the process. Now, I'm sure there's some LOAs that still do the plan because it still works for them because they're old hearts and they didn't want to change. But a lot of there was a diamond organization in New York that spoke to specific, directly.
So if anybody's not aware, they are referring to Don and Mary, and they're the couple who started the process. If you guys are familiar with our good friend Hope, she was downline of Nolan and Rianne, who were downline of Don and Mary. Don and Mary are the big Worldwide crowns out of Canada, just for context. So
that organization in New York and BWW, they said, well, we're doing it anyways. We're going to start the process. We had access to those audios. So we're like, we're going to start the process too, no matter what our double diamond or diamond says, because we're trendsetters and we're young and we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. So we loved Worldwide, essentially. I mean, to answer that question. And that's how kind of we started the process, very sneakily.
that's interesting because we knew nothing about Britt Worldwide. The only thing we
Right.
knew about Britt Worldwide was that the creator of Worldwide was downline from Britt Worldwide. That's all we know about BWW. So for you guys to learn about Worldwide is really interesting. And then again, for our diamonds to go speak on your line of sponsorship as well is really strange. I don't think any of us knew that the crown guy was speaking at your functions, or that any of our diamonds were speaking at your functions, or that even, anything like that. That's wild to me. But I mean, I guess in a sense, we're all connected. Like
Right.
we're all technically part of the same big, giant organization somehow, some way. And that's bizarre. And you guys had talked about some changes that have been made recently to Britt Worldwide. You guys want to go into that?
Sure. So throughout COVID, and this is another red flag that happened, and I'll go into that. Throughout COVID, the function tickets were what, $250?
No, for functions 125.
$125. Cool. So the function cost to go in person was $125, and when we went into COVID, we did everything virtually, obviously, but it was still $125 to go to a virtual conference.
And you're not allowed to combine the tickets. You're not allowed to buy one ticket and then invite your team over to watch it. Everybody had to buy an individual ticket.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my God.
it was a red flag right there. Now, and I was an idiot, and I didn't really pay no mind. I'm all right. It is what it is, Gotta do it. Anyways, So throughout the pandemic, there has been changes to where, and I don't know very specifically, but I still have people in my team, or that used to be my team, still in Amway, still a part of that organization, and I still talk to them. I mean, there's this one guy that I'm still good friends with. So they have changed their organization to where there's diamonds within BWW that broke away from BWW, and now they have created their own organization and education system. And I believe that there's some worldwide groups affiliated with this new organization as well, and it's called Spartans LLC. So BWW has now branched off, and I believe the people who branched off are the ones who wanted to do the process, and then whoever stayed in BWW, I feel like they were anti-process, and they were stuck to their old ways, and they wanted to continue to do the things that they wanted to do. But obviously that caused friction, and that caused the organization to like split. And I remember when that announcement got made, and we were told that it was for the best, it's for the most positive. It allows more people to step up. It allows more people to get shine and more stage time, because now the rubies can speak in conferences and host whatever. So it allowed, okay, I'm a 4,000 PV. It's going to allow you to now be able to be an influencer too, and get perks and whatever. But no, that was
And another thing that I've heard is that the reason for it, they said it was going to be cost effective. So all of your tools are going to be cheaper. So instead of charging us $200 for the whole audio thing and, sending messages to each other, all of the books, like your standing order books and your audios, are going to be in one, and it's going to be versus $200, going to be $130. But then I remember I had to explain it to Ariel because he was, praising it so much when he was in it. I said, well, you have to understand they share it with less people. They used to share $200 with so many different diamonds, but now $130 goes to like 2 people. So you're still getting ripped off. You're not gaining any extra value for your buck. No, they're still getting money off of you. It's just they probably more than they did before. It's because they have to share it with less people.
Yeah. Wow. So actually, that brings up a good point. So have you guys from your upline, like anybody in upline, because I know, Ksenija, you talked about how you heard this from your dad, but at any point, were you guys given any sort of indication from your upline that the platinums and above were allegedly getting paid off of these tools?
Not on my side. I've never heard of that. But what happened was every Tuesday when we have our board plans, they would set up tool tables and they would like push us to buy books. So I would spend roughly $200 a week, even more, on process tools like Business of the 21st Century, The Go Giver, all of the books, because you eventually lose them because people are not going to get back to you once they start researching everything. So, but they do promote that. And then I remember being in my last function. We at BWW, they have tool rooms, huge tool room. It's literally a big room the size of the whole Coliseum, actually, filled with tools. And I remember when I was buying them, they asked me for my IBO number. And that clicked in my mind, thinking, why do they need my IBO number if I'm just buying this to, develop myself, etc.? Then I realized that commission is going to go to my Q12. And our Q12 speaker, when, for example, Amway representatives would come on stage, nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody cares about the Amway representatives on stage. They're like, that's a perfect time for you to get tools. And our Q12 Platinum would send out a huge message, guys, go to the tool room. Make sure you have all the books you need. That's your opportunity. And I would drop like $300 like easily at that one night, as well as all of the other downlines. Our whole team was so brainwashed and controlled that pretty much everybody spent at least between $50 to $400 on those tools. Every function, Danny, every single function, our Q12 Platinum would get so much commission from that event because it was so pushed and so promoted. And then as I am, for example, would spend $300 on tools, I would take a picture of all of my tools and put it in our group chat and group me for the whole teams. Like, hey guys, just got all these tools. Who's coming next? What are you gonna get? Like, gotta feed the process, etc. It was so promoted. It was disgusting, but eventually it clicked. Given that I had to give my IBO number, I was so confused, and I felt like my heart went to my stomach again. I said it twice already, but I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. It was disgusting.
Yeah, and for me, I literally believe that it was for our personal well-being, our personal growth, and I didn't really think too much about it. And I would probably say I didn't care if my uplines got commission because I'll get there eventually. And I didn't realize how wrong it is. But I remember pushing my team as well. I would be like, "Come on, guys, yeah, let's go! Oh my God, look at this book, look at that CD. This is X, Y, and Z from Worldwide. Oh my God, they got a new audio. Let's get it." And I'd be the hype up, sign up guy.
Yeah.
And I was annoying, I'm sure.
Yeah, you were.
I'm sure. I was a little bitch boy back in the day. I'm not gonna lie. I was whipped. I was bot.
It's okay. We've all been there. Like I worship my upline like they were fucking royalty too.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely. So it's
Yeah.
like I totally get where you're coming from. I really do. And it sounds really rough to maybe people who haven't been there, but I've been there. Absolutely, I have. So
Yeah. I was really indoctrinated, but I did remember hearing because I was a privy to leadership meetings, quote unquote, because of my pin, my team size or whatever, and I remember at a training session, I remember vaguely somebody saying, "Yeah, you know, as you grow in the business, you get paid from the tools," and that just excited me. I was like, "Oh wow, really? That's cool." I didn't think to dig more
so
and
someone
find out how.
told you that.
Yeah, in a leadership meeting.
Wow.
But it was portrayed as a positive thing, obviously, and I believed it. I sure did. But
Okay.
I didn't think too much of it because I'm like, you know what, these tools are saving my life, right? So I'm like,
Definitely.
whatever.
But I do remember there's
Yeah.
one thing, Michael, the Q12 Platinum. I remember he was on the stage telling what a great Amway system is and how much they take care of him. And I remember he pulled out a check for $2,800 from Amway, waving it around. What a great thing he did. And I remember watching, it's like, huh? Wait a minute, 2,800, that's all? You have 100 people in your team, you make $2,800 from your PV
Wow.
check? And I
That's a
remember
good
thinking,
point.
that makes no sense. So because they would slip sometimes like that, you know what I mean? And $2,800, it's a lot of money, but then it's not retirement worth money, you know? It's not like you can literally do DoorDash and make that much money. Ariel, when he was between jobs, he was like, because we set up a budget when he was in between jobs during COVID, I was like, okay, I need you to make $100 a day, you know, so that through DoorDash. And he did it. Like he did it. And he did it within like 6 hours doing DoorDash or Lyft, whatever he decided to do that day. But it's not that huge amount of money. I know, I'm sure for some people it is, but it's not worth recruiting 100 people for and sacrificing your life for. There's so many different avenues that you can actually make your money and not spend a dime on products. So I was flabbergasted. I remember being, no, this doesn't add up. Something is wrong. But can you believe that? It's insane.
Yeah, that's like a paycheck for a lot of people. Like that's their take home paycheck, maybe after taxes, or maybe that's their hourly before taxes. Like that's a regular job income. At least like maybe it's like some sort of job that somebody has. Like it's definitely, like you said, it's not retirement money. It's not like, if that's what they told me I could make monthly by getting into Amway, absolutely not. And my job pays me that much. Like, no, I'm good. I'll stay at my job. I'm not out here trying, you know, sales is hard enough. Like I was in sales for a long time, and cold calling and having to do all of those things is uncomfortable. I don't do it anymore, but I did it, you know, and it's really just, I'd rather do sales than do Amway. I'll be honest. And yeah, that's insane. I mean, you guys have had a lot happen to you, and you guys were both in for, how long were both of you guys in for?
I was in for about 7 years, from 2016 to
2014, you mean?
Yes, sorry, to 2014 to like the beginning of 2021, so about 7 years.
And for me, it was 4 years.
Wow.
And we lost like $100,000 combined in those years. We calculated it, all the functions, all the audios, all the products, and we went to debt. And we're like, we spent $100,000 that we didn't have. So it's crazy in 7 years.
And that I mean, again, thank you so much for that transparency, because it's a lot. And again, I know if you haven't been there, you guys, this is not uncommon. It's really not. And like Cassia said, nobody's above a cult. Nobody is above getting prospected. They just haven't hit your pain point yet. Like all
Yeah.
it takes is for them to say the right thing to you and boom, you're in. If you say, that would never be me, bullshit. Yes, it would be if the person said the right thing to you. But yeah, is there anything else that you guys felt was like super important that you guys wanted to make sure got shared?
I mean, I did a Google search about what are the characteristics of a cult right before this meeting, actually. And I thought it was hilarious. And I'm going to read some of the things that I read from my Google search. So the first thing that I saw was a cult is a specific factors in a cult behavior are said to include manipulative and authoritarian mind control over members, communal and totalistic organization, systematic programs of indoctrination and perpetuation. I can't read today. And perpetuation in lower and middle class communities. Cults often isolate their members from friends and family on the outside, punish doubts or questions, and require inordinate sacrifices and money from followers. Perfect representation, perfect definition of what we experienced in our Amway tenure.
I'm so glad you read those off because that's so true. Those are it's so valid. Another thing is Stephen Hassan's bite model. I always reference this in every episode, man. It goes over all of the different types of brainwashing that they do. And worldwide, Britt World Wide, all of these organizations, they embody all of these things. Emotional control. Like they promote. So one of them is promote feelings of guilt or unworthiness, such as identity guilt. You are not living up to your potential. Your family is deficient. Your past is suspect. Your affiliations are unwise. That is a big one. Like they make you question who you're around, and that's just emotional control. Thought control is a big one as well. Yeah, that they're making you listen to all their audios 24/7. Like you have to be. Did you guys have what they called core? Like where you have to read an audio per day or like that kind of stuff? Okay. Core is to keep you brainwashed every single day. And then information control. Like I'm sure the process really kind of showed you guys how you're supposed to, at least how it was in the beginning when the process first started. You kind of keep information from your prospect. You don't immediately show them on the napkin plain what the hell they're doing. You keep that information from them until they're quote ready to receive that information in the process. It is fucking deceptive, you guys. This shit is crazy. But
my little cousin, he started Amway and we found out about a year ago. And I'm like, bro, and I'm not gonna tell him what the fuck to do, but I'm like, hey, dude, go ahead and try it. Try Amway if you want to, but you're gonna look after these red flags. So I listed all the red flags that he needs to be aware of, and if he's not comfortable and if he sees this shit, you got your answer. So try Amway if you want to. If you're listening to this and going through a process, go ahead, try it. But don't get manipulated to the shit that you don't want to do. And all of these promises they're giving you, they're false promises, and they're not living that lifestyle either. And it's going to take them, our Q12 Platinums, I mean, they've been in the business for
20 years.
20 years. They're in their 30s right now.
Late 30s now, actually.
Late 30s, probably.
One other thing I wanted to mention, actually, is that how much control has increased during COVID. So one of the things, obviously, everything is virtual now. And what they would do, they would randomly request you to join their Zoom to see where you were. Yes. So because there's so much speculation already about me and Ariel, and we can go into that later of how we got caught, quote unquote, but they would call you randomly to see where you were and what are you doing. And then they had daily calls with all of us, and we would prospect all together online on LinkedIn and Instagram. And then another thing that they would say is that when everybody got their COVID check, what was it called? What is it called? Stimulus checks.
Oh, the stimulus. Yeah.
Yes. They're like, this is a perfect opportunity to hit your pin levels and like use that money to monetize on, to get your platinums and all of that into qualification. They're like, this is a perfect time. So think about it. We're in the middle of a global fucking pandemic. People are already struggling. People are losing jobs. People are dying, literally. And what you're telling us is that we have to hop on the call with you anytime you request our attendance. We have to be on the call with you every single day to prospect. And we need to spend the rest of our money in the stimulus check that's supposed to literally feed your family on products. So,
wow.
Yes. And after I got out, I remember Ariel was saying how they're kind of shunning him for doing a bad thing. And we can get into that later, how it all went down. But I told Ariel, I was like, why don't you don't do your PV on the first and see what happens? And guess what?
That's a good, yeah.
After ignoring him for several months because he did a bad thing, they took him off the speaking schedule because he had to quote unquote focus on his personal relationship. They took him off the speaking schedule. They yelled at him when he went on a trip with me for my birthday to the beach for 3 days. Instead of spending time with me, Ariel was texting them back and forth, and they were like scolding him for going. At one point, they called him on his birthday and yell at him, like, how dare you do this to us and not be with us right now, when he was with me and my family. Ariel came out of the room, like he took a call in the room, came out like his eyes are like watery, and that was his fucking birthday.
I was just gonna say thank you, Ksenija, for filling out the blanks, because I'll be honest, I forgot a lot of.
It's like a trauma brain, you know, you forget on purpose just to clear your mind.
It's true.
Yeah. No,
it's true.
It was awful. And with the COVID hit, it became even worse. And the amount of control that they had, the amount of scolding that they would do because you didn't do what they want you to do, it was insane.
Yeah, and then you said you wanted to go into our. You said you wanted us to go into our relationship, or is that what you said?
Yeah. Please do. You know, like, how did you guys get caught, and what are those juicy details? Like, anything you guys want to talk about, this floor is yours.
So throughout COVID, I lived with my mom. Well, I lived with my mom, or she lived with me. We lived in an apartment together in Duluth, Georgia. When we got together, we realized we lived 2 minutes away from each other the whole time. So we were only 2 minutes away. So we were like, whoa. And then I would see her on the highway every morning on 85. I would see her going to work, and I'm blasting Bill Britt in my 2004 Kia Optima and going to work. And then there's so many times on the highway we would see each other, we would beep and go crazy, and we were in love, or we were infatuated with each other. And even when I first saw her, I said, and damn, there's something about her. And I felt like a tug, like a big tug, when I first met her 6 years prior to us getting together. But I said, you know what? I got to focus on myself, and I got to focus on my career and my money and blah, blah, blah. So I stayed single the whole time I was in Amway because I wanted to grow on myself. And I'm glad I did, to be honest.
Well, you went on one date, and then you showed that girl a plan. Yeah. So instead of having a date with the girl, he decided to show her a napkin plan. That was his one attempt at dating that he did.
Failed miserably, but hey, I had a mission. But anyways, I always really liked her. And then one time at a PACE meeting on Friday night, we did the PACE meetings at my house, my little probably 600 square foot apartment. So I would set up like 20 chairs that I had to borrow for my downline because they had 20 chairs, metal chairs. And I remember her laugh. She was two rows behind me, and she had the most obnoxious laugh I've ever heard.
Back in the day, not anymore.
It was literally like that. And then I heard it, I'm like, oh hell no, I can't do that for the rest of my life. That was like the first 6 months she was in the business. And
then people started making fun of me for that laugh, and then I got rid of it. And now Ariel kind of misses it because that was...
Yeah, I do miss it. Bring it back. It was really cute, actually, thinking about it. But anyways, we got together after the marriage, or the wedding.
The wedding of our
we were in. Uplines. After that, that's when we talked to our uplines, and they said no, and they scolded her for dancing with me.
Did they scold you for dancing with me?
A little bit, but not
for
as much.
Me, oh my goodness.
Nick, what do we call him?
Misogyny, man.
Yeah.
What do we call him? Nick? Nick, he wasn't in my upline, so he can do whatever he did to you.
Yeah, he was furious with me. Oh my goodness. The amount of scolding and the amount of tears I shed over that wedding, the amount of shame that I had. Oh my goodness. I thought that was the end. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
And then I remember in New Year's, because that was when? October?
That was November. They got married in September, actually.
September. Yeah. I remember New Year's, after months of thinking about Ksenija, I never messaged her. I never
You never crossed the boundary.
I never crossed the boundary. But I wrote her a note on New Year's. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write a note and how I feel, and I gotta give it to her. And I kept it in my pocket for like 3 months, and I never gave it to her.
I was so scared.
I was so scared to cross that boundary, or to, break the rules and get shunned and be shunned away from my community. And my brother, my mentor that I love so much and held as such a regard, I didn't want him to be disappointed in me. Meanwhile, obviously they're all with their call signs, and we all know that by this point. But we started hanging out every day together. There was this one time we both saw each other at a coffee shop, and it was closing. It was like 10:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
We chatted in the parking lot until 6 a.m. the next day in the parking lot, and we saw the sun go up, and we had to go straight to work. And we were like, dude, we were talking in this parking lot for like 10 hours.
Because think about how so many conversations we could have had over the years, because at that point we already knew each other for 3 years, and we always kind of liked each other, and there's so many things we want to tell to each other. So we spent 8 hours at that parking lot just talking and just fell in love. It was amazing.
And we still didn't cross the boundary that first time.
That first time, we didn't even hug or touch or anything.
And then
we're so scared.
That whole next week, I went to that coffee shop every night, wishing, because I still didn't get her number or I didn't message her or anything else, but I was like, maybe I'll catch her tonight. And I went every single day to that coffee shop, and she didn't come for a week.
For a whole week, I didn't come.
There was this one night where I'm like, I was driving from like a long day. I'm like, should I go? I don't want to go. She's not going to be there. I was just going home because I'm tired. So I made the turn to go home because the coffee shop was down the street. So I made a right turn. I said, fuck it, I'm going. So I skirt. I went to the coffee shop, and I'm like, I would just read a book or something. And then 10 minutes later, she walked in.
Yeah.
After a week.
Hey, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. But what has happened was, so our team back up at my job, we would celebrate quarterly wins. So at the end of every quarter, we would go out and party. And that was the end of the quarter. And then what was I thinking? It was the end of the quarter. And then I remember posting a story on my Instagram. And that's when Ariel just started snooping on my stories. And I made my Instagram public so he can look at it. So I posted a story, and I was thinking, okay, if he's looking at that story, I'm gonna go to that coffee shop because I wasn't there for a week when he was going there every day. So he saw my story, and I drove straight over there, and I was driving around the parking lot trying to find his car, and I couldn't find his car. But I was like, whatever. I need some work to do. I had my laptop with me. I'm just gonna park and go in. And then I come in, and here he is sitting there waiting for me. And we sat down, and I was like, well, actually, I came here to see you. And he was like, well, I'm here for the same reason. And then that's basically how we started dating.
Yeah.
And then from story is adorable.
Yeah, we're so adorable. They're so in love, which we are. We're really
anyways, so after that, I mean, I think we spent every day together.
Every day together.
We broke up for a week because I felt so bad and I didn't want to continue lying to my upline. I said, Ksenija, I don't think we can do this anymore. But you know what? One day I'm going to marry you.
And then he ran away.
No, we didn't break up for a week. No.
It's for a day.
So yeah, that was another story. But that day I said, we have to stop. It was like a month in, right?
Yeah.
We have to stop. You know, I feel so bad. We're doing such a bad thing. And the next day I said, fuck it, I can't do this. All right, we're going to continue this, and we're going to, whatever, lie about it if we have to. So every day we spent together. And then COVID hit. I didn't want to be away from my girlfriend because it was such a scary time in the world. So I just came over and never left. And just slept. And I was still paying rent at the other apartment that I had. But, you know, I didn't want to leave Ksenija's side. You know, like, fuck it. My mom's not here snooping around. So we can do whatever the fuck we got to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how we got caught was we would do meetings just in the other room. But I had a team meeting with my team.
And he's so loud.
I'm
so
passionate.
To give you a context, Ariel is deaf in one ear, so he doesn't hear half of his tone, and he's very passionate. So he's talking to his team to motivate them, and he's so freaking loud. And at the same time, I'm having a meet and greet with one of my best friends and my upline David, and I see David's face kind of change in the meet and greet. I was like, something is up. And then after my meet and greet wrapped up, after his meeting wrapped up, we're just chilling. The upline is calling, Mike is calling Ariel, and he's like, where are you right now?
I'm like, you know,
like your mom.
I just had a team meeting.
yeah, it's like, where are you? And then he's like, turn your camera around, and there I was.
So he's like, oh, can you hop on this meeting real quick? The wife is gonna send you a link, and I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? So I'm like in the room, on the bed, like, hey, but facing the window. How you doing? Good. Hey, where are you right now? They're all concerned. They're all looking at me, and I'm like, oh, this and that. Are you at Ksenij's house? I'm like, all right, yeah. And that's how we get caught, because I'm a passionate motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And then there's more shit that
crazy.
happened afterwards. You go ahead and give
Yeah.
a brief synopsis of what happened
So
after.
what happened was, just to go a little bit back before COVID, because we're already dating. So remember I told you about this girl, her name is Tanya. We're calling her Tanya. Tanya is engaged now to Nick. But Tanya, she's a little sneaky little girl that she is. She knew about my ex-boyfriend and his other girlfriends. She knew about me. She knew about 3 other girls. And I see her at the mall because I told her that I was dating that guy, and then I saw her at the mall. I didn't tell her about me and Ariel because she was already my upline. But she told me, she's like, oh yeah, your ex is dating this girl. And I remember, like women's intuition, you just know when something is up.
Oh, definitely.
I remember hating this one girl so much that was a crossline of mine. And I had no reasons for it. I really didn't have any reasons, but I just hated her. I couldn't stand her. And then come to find out, my ex is dating her at the same time with me. And the other girls that wasn't very close to at the time, but that one crossline, we're in David's organization, so I just couldn't stand her. And she was like, well, they're together now. They've been together for 3 years, and he actually dated this and this girl at the same time as he was dating you. And I was like, I saw red. I got so angry. I got so angry. And the fact is, after we got caught, there's some things in our relationship that has happened. We had a really hard first year, and my ex was trying to get involved with me at the same time and all of that. So let me go back. So that cross line of mine, who is my upline now, she knew the entire time. She told me about that story. After we got caught, they call us into like an ethical court kind of situation. They want us to tell our separate stories. And Ariel met with them separately, and they told him some things about me just to make him want to
leave you,
completely leave me. And obviously before that, I went through a very hard time. I did things that I'm not proud of. So they told him every dirty laundry about me. He comes home, tells me what he found out, and obviously we're crying. It's all of that. Then I am going to that ethical court. It's just like Scientology. They're grilling me about the relationship I had previously with my ex, and then my relationship now that I had with Ariel. And then I told them, yeah, actually, I went crazy after I found out that my ex was dating this girl, and this girl. And Sam asking me, where did you find that out? And I said, I found it from Tanya, her now sister-in-law. And Tanya looks them straight in the eye and said, no, I never said that. She literally lied about me in front of me to them.
I'm angry for you right now.
So
all of this because you guys were dating, all of this,
Yes.
despite the fact that they were doing this, and they somehow, some way think it's necessary to shame you for all of this, because they shamed you, Ksenija. It sounds like more than him, which is really sad. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry.
It is.
They did. They scolded me. I'm the whore of the group. I'm ruining organizations. Mind you, A, they're all cross lines. B, my upline David openly flirted with me and all of his other legs that he had, who were all women. And I am somehow the whore who ruined your whole organization. And what really pissed me off is that they were saying, you did this to us. You completely destroyed us. And I'm thinking, what did we do to you exactly? We lied. We're adults, and that's it. But we still did our volume. We still attended all of the meetings. We still were growing our organizations, and we did you wrong. How exactly? What again? And then you lied about me in front of me. How is that okay? So that all happened, and they told me yeah, maybe you should take a break for your mental health and just get better. And I agreed. And then I just never came back. And Ariel stayed for another year, and they were just all over him about our relationship, that he needs to leave, because I did some things I wasn't proud of in the beginning of our relationship, and they were just telling him, you have to leave her, she's a whore, she will never love you, she just thinks about herself, and the thing is, they scolded the other Crosslines as well who are dating because I completely outed them. I outed all of them. I was like, if I'm going down, everybody's going down. I don't care. Like, this person's dating, everybody's dating. So yeah, good luck with that. I completely unleashed the bomb on them. So the other two got scolded as well. But the thing is, then Michael was saying so after some time, obviously we got engaged. They never showed up to Ariel's birthday that I invited them to, that I put up a surprise birthday party. And B, Ariel invited them to our engagement. They never showed up. And 3, Ariel was so up his ass. I'm sorry, that was back then.
You're right.
He was so up his ass. He invited my Mike to be our best man in our wedding. And guess what that upline said, mind you, after 7 years of quote unquote friendship, and you were so betrayed that we're dating because you loved him so much, he told us, oh wait, your wedding is during a function, we can't come to your wedding.
That's it.
Yeah.
This was like maybe a year prior to the wedding. He said, oh, typically functions are around that time, so I can't promise. I don't know. And I already have so many other weddings because my brother's getting a wedding, this guy's getting a wedding, that guy's getting a wedding. And I'm also a part of their wedding party. So I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, okay. But mind you, I didn't have any friends. After I left the organization, I had 0 friends. My wife now, my girlfriend at the time was my only friend at that point.
Yeah.
I had 0 friends because starting the business, you're going to lose all your friends. And I'm glad that there was a few best friends that I had before the business that I didn't talk to them for the whole 7 years because they were not a part of the business. I'm luckily now able to reconnect. We're able to reconnect now, and I apologize and all this shit, and now we're better than ever. We're all great, but I had no friends, 0 friends. All my friends were my team. All my friends were my uplines.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
they take your whole life.
Absolutely. So after that year, I asked him. He said no. After a few months, he's like, you know what? All right, that's fine. I'll do it. You know what? I'll be your best man. And I'm like, okay.
And then I remember Ariel coming home and telling me this. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? You're gonna let this guy stand by us while we get married when he put me through all of that? And I remember, so after we actually got legally married before our wedding dates, you know, because we wanted to save some money on taxes, and that actually helped quite a bit. Yeah. So before we got married, they came over to our place trying to seek reconciliation with us, because obviously they want us in their team, because we started to do well financially at our jobs. We settling in. We live in a very good area in Atlanta. So they're like, we need to have them back on our team. They came over. I am like this nice hostess, give them a cheese board and wine, and we're just hanging out. And I told him, I confronted him about everything. I told them everything that I'm telling you now, like this hurt, this was so inappropriate. You crossed the line here. The fact that you said I can pick up a guy at the hotel room. If your guy wants me in a hotel, I'll go with him. I told her everything. And then I said, okay, I will give my blessing for Ariel to go back only if Tanya apologizes to me for lying. The only way I will be semi-okay with him going back to the team, because I wasn't coming back, period. But Ariel just still clinged on to that previous friendship that they had, and maybe the version of it that he created in his mind. He missed his friends, you know, and that never happened. They still believe that she never said that. They still believe that what they did was right. The fact that I had quote unquote ethical core, just like in Scientology, I had 5 people in that room talking down on me and yelling at me for dating 2 guys in the organizations, and for the mistakes that I've made, like slut shaming me, calling me an alcoholic, saying I'm mentally ill, saying that I'm sad, quote unquote, like 5 people against 1. And I did not feel protected at all. I was in a very vulnerable place. We already have COVID, you know, hitting us, and then I'm dealing with this crap. And then you're coming back to my place when I'm treating you really well as a guest, and then you just wouldn't admit to this one thing. I was like, you're done. You're dead to us.
Nick was saying that, oh, how dare she trying to, you know, tear apart our family and spreading lies about my fiance. But the fiance probably still is lying about it.
The fiance is still lying about it. And the thing is about that fiance, Tanya, she was hanging out with all of the Crosslines. She had everybody's numbers. She was trying to be friends with everyone. And then to cover face, she was, you know, lying.
Yeah, I remember actually going to their college where they went. And I didn't really hang out with them, but I went to that specific college to contact. And I saw them both together. I'm like, oh, this was years ago. But I'm like, oh, hey, guys. Oh, how you doing? Good. And I'm weirded out that they're Crosslines and they're together. But But now here they are giving us a whole Eltigo Accord when they were together the whole time behind everybody's back, right? So
Wow.
fuck off.
Wow. This is so much. Like, I am so grateful that you guys have had the willingness to come on here and share such an intense story. And I'm grateful for your time. 1000% grateful. I have to
We're
ask,
glad to be here.
what's life like after the business? Like, how are you guys now? And how have you guys thrived better now than what they promised you?
We're doing so much better mentally. We've definitely healed. Our marriage is stronger than ever. You know, we had a couple of issues that I haven't mentioned in this podcast, which I don't think are relevant right now, that we have to work through.
Every relationship, right?
Yeah, but our relationship took a big turn after they found out we're dating, and there's a lot of secrets that were unveiled, if you will. We had to work through that, but we are stronger than ever. Our careers are so much better than we were, because for a while, not to put you on the spot, but Ariel could not keep a job because he was so focused on the Amway business. At one point, he got fired for falling asleep on his desk on his first day at work. First month. Like, he couldn't keep a job, and now he has a very good career. I have a really good career. We're thriving. We're paying off our debt. We actually met with a financial advisor, and the amount of information we've learned about to save for retirement and all of that is so much more than we ever learned in Amway. And they, you know, what's another thing really quickly, what they say, you know, in the process, they usually say, what do you know about MLMs? Have you been in network marketing? It's like a hype up, sign up kind of thing. And we are focused on mentorship and leadership and teaching you how to build assets, like passive income. But it's the same thing. You're still going to hype up, sign up, and then they're going to just have control over your life. And the fact is, it's not passive income. It's so wrong to say that. Like, the friend who's still in, and he's probably going to listen to this. So hi, I'm going to post it on my Instagram, so he's going to see it. He is following me on Instagram. So he keeps telling us that it's passive income. But what it is, you're building a house of cards. The moment that somebody stops doing your volume, your revenue, quote unquote, is done. You're done.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, you have to keep rebuilding. And those uplines, Michael and Sam, they've been in Q12 forever. They keep losing their sixth leg. They just keep losing it. You know what I mean? And there's another couple, they're Harry and Patricia. You know, I think they're emeralds now. I'm not sure. But she quit her pharmaceutical job to be a full-time Amway distributor, if you will. But they're not moving anyways. They've been in the business for 20 years too. And the amount of work that they do, and they sell you quote unquote freedom, it's literally the most different thing than freedom, like the most opposite thing than freedom. You're out every single day meeting strangers, acting like a predator at Target, trying to talk to strangers. That is so similar to trafficking. It's just so disgustingly terrible to me. And the fact that they're just always asking people, how much money do you have in your bank account? This is how much I have this, and that. People that are actually successful will never say that to you.
Nope.
No,
not at
because
all.
they have no intentions. Like, I have a pretty successful family, and two of my uncles have done really, really well in life. And they live really well, but they never come up to somebody's like, oh, check my house out. Look at my car. Normal people don't do that, you know? So now we're doing so much better. We're happy. You know, we're still figuring out the debt situation, and we're working with the financial advisor on it to get out that hole. But I mean, was it worth it to meet each other and be together? Because we genuinely do believe we're meant to be together. Yeah. Do I regret staying in longer? Absolutely. Have I made many mistakes? Yes. But I mean, one good thing about it is that I met my husband through that, and being as rebellious as I am, like, we had to stay together. And we will stay together, you know, and just to prove them that all of your teachings is bullshit. And you say there's no divorce in the organization, but that's a huge lie. You guys are all in miserable relationships. Like, you're building a house of cards, and I just don't want to have anything to do with it.
Word.
Yeah.
Unless it's anti-MLM.
I'll build another pyramid scheme. I'm gonna recruit anti-MLM people into my little MLM.
Yeah.
We're kidding.
It's true. No, it's so good to hear that you guys are doing so well afterwards. Because I mean, we do hear the stories of people who they split after they leave, or one will stay in and they have like, it's just, there's so much that happens. So to hear that you guys have such a good relationship even after leaving, I'm really excited for you guys to have that and sticking together through it. You guys went through some shit. You guys went through a lot of bullshit. And I think the fact that you guys can connect on that is really cool. But hey, I thank you guys so much for coming on here, for sharing your story, for being willing to hang out with me for so long.
Of course.
And yeah, so again, I'm going to ask you guys, how can we help support this message? How can we help you guys continue to spread your message?
Yes, definitely. I would say share this podcast when you hear it.
If it added value to you, sure.
If it added value, share it. The best way to support us is just keep spreading the message. If you have somebody in your family who's involved in MLM, please educate them, take the time. And I wouldn't say just go really aggressively to them with facts, but ask them questions that will stimulate their mind. Like, well, how does this really work? How is this really a passive income? What kind of mentorship, what kind of value are they really adding to you? Because we were taught back in the day to always glorify our upline and edify our upline. In that case, they didn't do anything for us. They just stole from us. They're thieves. They're manipulators, and they're like destroying lives, and they don't give a single crap about you. So my suggestion and the way you can support us is through supporting the anti-MLM community and spreading the message.
Hit the nail on the head.
Definitely. You guys are so passionate. I'm so grateful. If you guys are out there and you guys want to share your story, please message me on Instagram at xsnt.podcast. Follow me on every platform, YouTube, TikTok, at xsnt.podcast. And here's the thing. If you want to share a story, it doesn't have to be anti-MLM. It can be, absolutely. But my biggest goal is to spread awareness, deviant awareness, toxic relationship, and red flags, just any sort of awareness, because I think that there's a lot of topics that are not being discussed. And my goal is to be able to help give people a voice. And I think especially this anti-MLM topic is so important. So stay safe out there, guys. If somebody comes up to you and wants to ask you to go to coffee because they have an opportunity for you, run the opposite direction. Like quite literally just be like, hey, you gotta go, and like run, like get away. But thanks again, you guys. I really appreciate it. And we will catch everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Thank you.